Guys, let's start our talk. I don't know if you've been at previous talks here at OXP, but I'll give you some time for you to scan this QR code so as to be able to get to the path where you will be able to ask all your questions for the Q&A session. While you scan the QR code, you might have heard that 90% of scale-ups and startups fail within their first 5 years. What you probably haven't heard of, or is not that known, is that 60% of that outcome is due directly or indirectly because of poor choice of tools made by founders during the deployment of such startups or scale-ups. And this is what we're going to discuss today. My name is Mario Rodriguez Siglia. I'm Key Partner Manager at Odoo, and I'm passionate for entrepreneurship and innovation. I focus my postgraduate studies on this field. I've been working on this domain for the last 10 years. I'm a founder myself of 3 ventures, and I've been, since 2020, advising and coaching entrepreneurs and startups. And this is the subject, as I said before, of this talk. Basically, the choice of tools made by founders during the deployment of their early stage ventures, either startups or scale-ups, implies challenges of different kinds, both for the ventures and for the founders. We're going to discuss some of them, the most relevant ones, and I'm going to share with you some hard-learned lessons that I collected during these last 10 years, so-called fuck-up stories. Let's start with the first challenge any founder finds when they are starting up: breaking the PowerPoint wall. Any founder, after developing an idea, validating it, finds the moment where they have to leave the pitching PowerPoint that they have been working on and have to build a real business. Something that works, that somehow makes money. The so-called MVP, minimal viable product, are two well-known concepts within the entrepreneurial literature that are usually got wrong. Best of all breeds and bootstrapping. Best of all breeds is usually misunderstood as the best set of solutions out there for each of the operations that we had within a company, while bootstrapping, on the other hand, is setting up a business for free or as cheap as possible, whatever that takes. I got it wrong. On my first startup, I had no entrepreneurial experience. I had only business development experience. I joined 2 seasoned agricultural experts, and we founded eco-friendly agricultural supply manufacturer that we funded. The product was really well developed. The guys, my co-founders, really knew what they were doing. They knew the market. They were recognized within the market, so they had very good financial backing from early stage investors. So we had the money. We had very good product. We had a very sound business plan. So we said, let's go best of all breeds. Let's get the best out of there for each operation within the company. In my case, as responsible for the commercial leg of the startup, I had the great idea of buying the best CRM out there with the best set of marketing automation tools. And in order to get to the end customer, as mobile apps were on the hype at the moment, I said, why not creating a mobile app to allow our customers to place their orders directly on their phones? We invested 30,000 euros on this app, plus 20,000 on the other tools. Regarding the app, it never worked. We released it 3 times, 4. There were always issues on the back end, front end, you name it. It never worked. we ended up creating on Wix a website reactive on mobile that did the trick, not only on the first MVP, but also on the second version, third. We ended up exiting successfully the company 3 years later, and that website was still ongoing. Moreover, I realized that the other tools, although they were very, very good, they were not integrating with each other. So every time we had to move data from one tool to the other, we were having issues, serious issues. For my second startup, I had some experience at this point. We were able to sell the company successfully, but this second venture was not as high profile as the first one. We didn't have as much financial backing. We basically created a rental marketplace for household goods. We created a very nice techie looking website. It looked like Airbnb at that moment, but on the back end, the 4 founders were just collecting orders, synchronizing it with our partners and delivering. Everything was manual, but we wanted to go bootstrapping in a complete different direction that I did on the first experience. The problem was that on the first opportunity that we had a lot of traction. On the first month, we were committing so many mistakes on our delivery that we were putting in danger our young customer base and our recent partner network that we were created with professional renters. So basically, we decided to shut down the website and rethink what to do on the back end. Out of these 2 experiences, I've learned 2-3 important lessons. The first one, be pragmatic. Think about something that does several things fairly well, but it's integrated. It's much better one thing that does several actions, several operations fairly well, than several tools, isolated tools that are performing really, really well, but in an isolated way. Then think in the long term. Look for a solution that not only provides you an answer for the next MVP, but for the whole journey of your venture. And then look for something flexible, scalable, easy to use, and that it's convenient for your product and your circumstances. Basically, this is very important to understand the concept of best of all breeds and bootstrapping. It's important to keep in mind your product, your business model, and your circumstances. The next challenge is scaling up. This guy you see here is Reid Hoffman. He's a well-recognized entrepreneur and investor. He is the co-founder of LinkedIn, and he has made famous a concept that is pretty extended among investors: blitzscaling. Scaling fast, exponentially, and without looking that much at efficiency or organic growth. This, that's called blitzscaling, it's what you're going to find on most investors whenever you have a working MVP. They're going to ask you 3 questions. The first one, where you want to get? What's your goal? The second one, how much money do you need, and for how much, for how long, for how much time? They will try to shorten the time, shorten the amount of money, expand the goal. And this puts a lot of pressure on founders. What happened to us on the next fail experience that I'm going to share with you is that we fell into the pressure of having a very, very, let's say a very high, having a bar really, really high, and committing mistakes on the deployment. I call it the Challenger scale-up because it reminds me to the Challenger rocket that exploded when it was being launched in 1996. Basically, we were manufacturing and distributing veggie burgers, At the moment, veggie burgers were not common as they are right now. We developed a product that tasted like meat, looked like meat, smelled like meat, but was plant-based. At this point, we were the first on the Spanish market, and we were able to develop a network of 60, 65 restaurants across Madrid, Barcelona, Malaga, and Valencia that were selling our burgers within their menu. We were selling 30,000 burgers per month with a team of just 5 people. This called the attention of several investors. We were teased several times until a certain moment we entered into the frenzy of the VC funding, let's say, teasing or the idea of growing. We collected 1.5 million to triplicate our revenue in 12 months without specific allocation of that funding. What happened was that we got together, the funding team, and said, well, where should we invest to get this far? We decided to create this direct-to-consumer product line. That was a big mistake, but it's subject of a different talk. We decided to expand our manufacturing facilities and to expand our team. Regarding the tools that we were going to use for our backend, we said, with just a set of spreadsheets and the support of a third-party accounting company, we've arrived this far. We can get 12 more months with this objective and this same setup. And this was a fatal error. After 3-4 months of our investment roadmap, we tried to do the first interim investment report, and we realized that our spreadsheets were not adding up. The figures were not reliable, and it were contradictory to what our third-party accounting company was providing. This generated a glitch in the relationship with our investors, and we were never able to get their confidence, their trust again. What I've learned about this experience was, first of all, if you want to scale and scale successfully, you need as least tools as possible that are able to basically do several operations within the same tool, as many as possible within the fewer number of tools. The second point that I've learned is that you have to see this set of tools or this tool as the compass and marrow bone of your company. It's never an expenditure, it's an investment that whenever critical times come, you're gonna need them on a positive way or on a negative way. You will need it when you're expanding and you're expanding too fast and you need to keep your north and keep the company together. And you're gonna need it when you're on crisis and you're shrinking and you still need to keep your north and keep your company together. And then, and this is something that's gonna come several times in our talk today, mind the time. You won't have much time to scale as you would desire. The third challenge that founders usually face is the change management. And with this, I will bring someone who needs no introduction, Mike Tyson, world heavyweight champion, it's a boxer, if you don't know, that has the, I think, the most popular, or at least one of the best quotes for founders. Everyone has a plan until they get punched on their mouths. And it's real. Doesn't matter how much you've been thinking about your product, your business plan, your business model, it's going to change. And it's going to change sooner rather than later. So you need to have your venture ready to adapt to a changing context. And it's going to happen fast. Many founders think that not having structures, not having tools is enough to be flexible. And it's not the case. Many founders think that building your tool stack, the set of tools that you use to manage your company based on spreadsheets, it's good enough. It's not. And I've been there. Spreadsheets are good for reporting the past and foreseeing the future, but they are not tools that are used to drive the company. So it's like a windshield and a driving mirror. You can see the past, you can see the future, but you cannot turn, you cannot drive the company, you cannot drive the bus. And you need this to be as adaptable, flexible as possible. The next misstep, the next fail experience that I want to share with you, it happens just before COVID. As a social startup, it was founded or supported by the community of Madrid. The objective of the startup was to bring back handicapped people to the workforce. So we were building or manufacturing and distributing gardening kits ready to use for urban consumers. By design, the startup was offline, was analog. We wanted to empower the physical relation between people, both on the back end and the front end. On the back end, we were excessively manual. On the front end, we were excessively in person. We have built a network of 20 partners. There were pop-up stores in the community of Madrid that were selling our products on their store completely offline. The problem came on March 16, 2020, when the state of emergency was declared in Spain and everybody had to stay home. The stores need to be closed. So we had a double problem at that point. From one side, our partner network was closed. From the other side, our employees were not able to go to the warehouse. They were not able to do the picking, the packing, the activities we would expressly plan for them to do within their company for the startup to fulfill its objective. So what I've learned from this experience was, first of all, and this is not the order of the slide, think about the tool that you're gonna need. It's gonna be adaptable, it's gonna be responsive and agile, and this needs to be thought whenever you're doing the MVP. If you're doing it later, it's not gonna be of any use. It's gonna be really, really late. In our case, readapting the company to the new reality took us 3 months. If it was not a public supported startup, we would have been dead in less than 2 weeks. So keep in mind the tools that you're going to choose, and they need to be reactive and responsive when you are thinking about the MVP. And keep in mind that you won't have time, that this is going to be an exercise of adaptation that needs to be done on the go. The last challenge is investment readiness. Investment readiness is something that is seen usually by founders as a secondary or third step on the entrepreneurial journey of each venture, and it's not. More and more, it's a subject of the MVP planning. As you know, investment is as oxygen or water for us, but for startups. As soon as you cross the threshold of friends, fools, and family supporting your venture, you will need someone who puts the money for you to expand and get to break-even point. And basically, more and more, the tool stack discussion is part of the investment discussion. Why? Because the tools you choose give your investor peace of mind. They are able to know where the money is going. They are able to know how is the investment going or doing, and they are able to trace each of their vested ventures. The next experience that I want to share with you is not a fuck up. It adds up very, very well. 10 years ago, a colleague of mine founded software. At that point, it was a colleague of mine. Now it's a friend. Founded software for the logistic operation. At that point, based on AI. Although at that point we didn't know what AI exactly meant. and now they're doing very, very well. They started up in Germany, and since 2023 they were thinking about expanding. They were looking for investment across the German market and then the European market. There were several VC firms that were interested in the venture, but at a certain point the discussions got into a stalemate. Therefore, this former colleague, now friend, called me and asked me for help. We went through the discussions and we found out that the tool stack issue was appearing in all of the VC firms discussions, the three of them that were started and were moving forward. When I asked him about his tool stack, we found out that it was quite atomized, more than 10 tools for to manage their backend, and most of these tools were proprietary tools that were not very transparent at all. I suggested them to implement a full scope ERP. I suggested Odoo. I basically even suggested them some German Odoo partners and let them do the analysis of this implementation. Last June, this colleague calls me and he gives me the good news that they have secured 5 million euros from two VC firms, and that the discussion was released as soon as they were informed that they were doing a gap analysis to implement a full scope ERP. They didn't even need to discuss which was going to be the ERP. So with this, I've learned, and I want to share with you, that choosing the right tools is very important, not only for the outcome of the venture itself, but also for the outcome of your investment discussions with potential investors. It's something that gives investors peace of mind and traceability, and it's something that you need to think about when you're thinking about the MVP. Why? Because if you're doing later, it's going to be much more expensive. So to sum up, whenever you're thinking about deploying a startup, think in the long term. Don't fall in the trap of just thinking the next step. Be pragmatic. Look for something efficient, easy to use, easy to implement, or fast at least to implement, and which is suitable for your product or your service and your situation as a company. Think that it's much better a single tool that does several operations within the company than several tools that do a lot of operations, because the isolation of tools brings problem when we are talking about integration. Think about your tool stack as the booster and driver of your company, taking into account that it's going to be useful when you face critical moments for you to be able to keep your north and keep your company together. Find something agile and responsive, mind the timing, and think about the tool for the investment discussions when thinking about your MVP. Think about investment readiness when you are thinking about your MVP. And this is all, guys. Thank you very much for your time, and I invite you to place your questions on the pad that we're gonna be able to tackle in the next 5 to 10 minutes. No, I cannot. No, but you can. Okay. 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 Yes, guys, please take a look at the Q&A code and place your questions in the pad. I would love to be able to discuss with you your questions, opinions. Okay, if there are no any questions, we can close it. Thank you very much for your time.